afternoon we want to talk about pornography. Pornography is a subject that is rarely spoken about in such an open manner. And perhaps for us to understand what we refer to by pornography, we will define pornography as a representation designed to create arousal or bring sexual pleasure to an individual. And these representations are designed either in terms of narrative writing, images, or even videos. The intention is to bring sexual arousal or bring sexual pleasure to the individual that is consuming of this kind of material. When we're talking about pornography in the church today, we realize that pornography is a problem, often referred as not harmful, just fun, but the statistics around us and the happenings in the community, the church not exempted, is an indication that pornography is a subject that now more than ever we need to talk about. The media and the movies have normalized pornography, have even made it appear as if it's attractive, and so many young people and even older people find themselves drawn into the consumption and use of pornography. Pornography has very terrible effects on us in different aspects. It affects us socially, emotionally, physically, and in other ways that we are going to learn in this session this afternoon. Evidence has shown that pornography strips families of trust and love. The love between man and wife is hurt by the consumption and use of pornography. We cannot ignore pornography anymore because it is not a small problem. Millions of pornographic videos are uploaded on the internet on a daily basis. And this is to show that there is market for it. The average age of a person that is exposed to pornography is as young as 11 years old. And you will realize that even younger children than 11 years old have been exposed to pornographic materials. The daily searches for pornographic materials on the internet surpasses 68 million in number. Christians have not been left out because pornography is found as a major problem in the home. A rough survey showed that 47% of Christians rather, have in one instance or the other been exposed to pornography or uses pornography or are addicted to pornography. I just said addicted, and that would look like a big word. Joining me on set today are fellow panelists that are going to help us unravel the subject of pornography and let help us understand more about pornography, how it occurs, how it becomes addictive, the consequences of pornography, and how it affects us at individual levels and at family and community levels. And also they will help us understand if there is hope for those who are afflicted. I will once again allow my fellow panelists to also take this opportunity to introduce themselves. Let me start from my left side, my far right left.
Happy Sabbath. My name is Joel Neribo. I'll be representing the youths. Looking forward to an insightful study.
Happy Sabbath. My name is Emily Ojuku. I'm representing the parents, and they're looking forward also too for an interactive section to be able to learn how to deal with this thing. Thank you.
Praise God. I'm Dr. Pöórnöģŕàphy, and I'll be explaining what this addiction is and probably the connection between that and violence.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Rose Misati. I'm a public health specialist, behavior change expert, certified life coach, relationship counselor, and parenting coach. On a day-to-day basis, I help people heal from their past hurts, manage their feelings, handle conflict, clarify life goals, lead effective lives as they enjoy fulfilling relationships. So I will be here helping us understand, detangle, and understand how once an individual is affected or afflicted, how they can move past it and be able to enjoy relationships and effective lives. Thank you.
consultant obstetrician and gynecologist, and today we'll be talking about pornography and how it does affect sexual relationships, later on. Thank you very much.
And myself, I'm Afifu Florida. I am happy to moderate this panel today. Now, to start us off, I would want to refer this to Dr. Pacifica Onyancha. You had me mention that pornography can be addictive. And most of the time when we talk about addictions, we think about substances, but here we are talking about pornography as addictive. So Daktari, if you'd let us into some light on how addiction occurs when it comes to pornography and how it presents in an individual. And also perhaps you can go further ahead to let us know if it's related to any other forms of addiction or other forms of behavior. Daktari Onyancha.
Thank you so much for this chance. Indeed, as you say, that pornography can cause addiction. I want to say that pornography is one of the addictive behaviors outside what we call chemical. Many at times we are really against, and we are talking about addiction, and we talk about substance, alcohol and drugs. But pornography, sometimes it has been shown that actually it could be more addictive than even what you have talked about in terms of alcohol and the other drugs. I just want to take this short time to really explain what is the pathophysiology of addiction. Having been told what pornography is, that one is subjected to pictures and narratives that really goes to cause sexual arousal, we know that sex is one of the addictive behaviors, if not well managed. Internet is one of it. Gambling is one of those ones. And therefore, pornography now comes and joins a number of chemicals and behaviors that are addictive. How does somebody become addicted? I want to start by saying that many at times, whatever we are doing, whether we are taking a beer of alcohol or even pornography, the first exposure, it could be for so many reasons. One of it could be due to peer pressure, because you really want to do what other people are doing. It could be pleasure because you are happy that what it causes at that particular time. It could be because you are doing what you call self-medication, especially for alcohol and drugs. It also causes even pornography. Somebody who is emotionally unstable, you may find that pleasure in actually watching those images and narratives. It could also be as a result of curiosity, just wanting to know what is here. And then the other reason could be maintaining what you started and now you are not able to come out. You find people actually using drugs or continually watching pornography because whenever they stop, there are consequences which they don't want to find themselves inside. So having looked at that, then pornography you may start whichever for whatever reason that I've mentioned. But as time goes by, you find yourself that there is now changes that happens in the brain. There is what you call the pleasure level pathways in our brains that God created to give us pleasure as a result of producing some chemicals which are called the happy messengers in our brains, one of it being dopamine. So when you are watching these pornographic materials, or when you are using anything that is addictive, you start small, and therefore there's an overflow of that chemical, dopamine. And as you continue, you find that you read more and more. And without knowing, you find that there is nothing else that gives you pleasure except that particular act, whether it is the drinking, whether it is the taking of drugs, or whether it is the watching of pornography. What happens is that when you start small, as you continue, now the body responds to that particular behavior by really making other things not being important to you, and you are only interested. That is the only thing that gives you pleasure. As you continue, the body responds by increasing the amount that is needed to give you pleasure, and that is what you refer as tolerance. And therefore, you need more. If you used to watch maybe once and you are okay, you find yourself now wanting to watch even maybe twice or 3 times in a day, if it is pornography. If If it is alcohol, you want to take maybe 5 or 4, and yet you 5 or 6, you continue. And in fact, in alcohol, you find that you graduate from beers to spirits, because beers no longer excite you like the first excitement. That is tolerance. As you continue, then you find that the body gets so much into that, you have replaced your normal, what you call the dolphins, that are the ones which are giving you pleasure. Now they are replaced by these external neurotransmitters that are more powerful, and therefore the receptors are used to that one. What happens is that any time now you reach a point you want to stop, you get what we call withdrawal. The withdrawal is a bad feeling that you get as a result of the tone of the receptors that have been now gotten used to this particular either behavior or chemical that is higher, with higher affinity than the natural substance that give you pleasure. And every time that happens, the withdrawal has got very bad symptoms. You may find a headache, yawning, sometimes crying, abdominal pains, tremor, sweating, so many. And in fact, some people have died of withdrawal, especially those who are addicted to those strong drugs like heroin. So even in pornography, just because I say the pathophysiology is almost the same, then the amount of dopamine now you need to do any other is so much that you displace it, and then now the only thing you want to do is pornography. If it has reached a point where you are watching it almost the whole day, now the consequences is huge. You will neglect the things that you used to do. You are mostly to be irritable. You are most likely to be isolated. You are most likely to actually generally affect your emotions in terms of even the response you give to those around you. And this, of course, means that you are likely to even turn violence in many ways. Violence is not about beating somebody. Violence is about how even emotionally do you relate to those who are around you. It is going to affect the relationships. It's going to affect even your career. It is going to affect even your physical fitness, because we have seen people, once they are so much addicted to that, they even neglect the physical exercise, the way you eat, and all those things. And that is how it comes. And in terms of the behavior change, it is likely to change even how you relate to the people around you, especially at home. We were talking about peace at home. You are likely to actually cause chaos at home, because even the way you relate to the parents and even with your siblings is likely to change. And therefore, that is really the connection. There's a lot of negligence, even if it is in the youth, in terms of studies. You are likely to drop. Even at work, you are likely to really be absent from work because you are really addicted. The only thing gives you pleasure is that if it is pornography. Finally, I want to say this, that the behavior generally has changed. And if you need money to actually to be able to fund whatever behavior, then you will do anything to be able to get that money, to be able to get the time. So it doesn't matter whatever comes across, whatever you come across, you'll actually be able to ignore. And that means that all spheres of your life are likely to be affected. And I think my co-panelists will be able to now specifically be looking at how does this pornography affect the areas, including the sexual, workplaces, the emotions, and all that. So generally, we are saying, how do you get to know that somebody has been addicted? The fact that these people have changed in terms of behavior, the time they were spending maybe in other constructive areas is finished. They are likely to steal if it's that money needs to, that behavior needs to be funded. They are likely to neglect their work. They are likely to even neglect the feeding, and therefore affecting their physical features. So I think as we continue, it's good to see the details of those effects of addiction, especially from pornography.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nyancha. That was very elaborate in explaining the word addiction in relation to pornography. Dr. Rose, I don't know if there's something you can add to make us understand more.
Thank you so much. I would like to add, in terms of is it really a problem in the church? One study was done, and it showed that 65% of men who are not Christians had viewed a pornographic content. 65, that is roughly 7 out of 10 men you see walking outside, they have viewed pornographic content. When the same research was done by men in church, faithful in good and regular standing, it was found that 64% of men in the church had viewed pornographic content. If you look at that, 64 and 65, there's no significant difference. So it means among men, the statistics are the same, both whether he's a Christian or not. Now, when it came to women, generally about 25% of women, about 3 women, had viewed pornographic material at any one time. Why is it more common in men? It's more common in men because by nature, men are visual. When a man is telling you about a lady he likes, he will say, she looks like this. But if women are more emotional, if a woman is telling you of a man they're interested in, they will say, he talked to me so well, he treated me so well. It's not so much about how he was looking. It may be good if it's a Denzel Washington, but much more, how does he treat me? How does he talk to me? How does he make me feel? So it means boy child is more vulnerable when it comes to addictions that are of visual in nature.
And I think with what Dr. Rose has added, then we must be very concerned, especially if you look at the circle of addiction as presented by Dr. Onyancha, that the first step is exposure. And my mind is brought back to thinking about the young children who are exposed even in our church. But let me bring in Joel to tell us a little bit more on what are some of the factors that makes young people be more vulnerable or be more predisposed to exposure, the first instance interaction with pornography. Joel.
All right. I think I'll pick it up from where Dr. Rose left it at. In terms of at our homes, the things we get exposed to. We have different TV shows that young people get to interact with on a day-to-day basis, and it gets to imprint in their minds these visual images. And seeing that now it's very easy to access pornographic sites, it's only a click away on your phone, on your laptop, and having interacted with TV shows, movies, even Netflix, where these instances have been, imprinted in the mind, it's now very easy for the young person to now indulge further and also, take that step further and open these sites. The other thing is friends, in terms of, one has met a new group of friends in school and he or she is trying to fit in. And these are some of the conversations that they are having, and once they come home, they would want to also experience the same and get to know what it is that my fellows are talking about so that next time I'm not blank when the conversation comes up. The other thing is idleness. We find that many youths don't have something to engage their minds in. And so it's very easy for them to be predisposed to this subject of pornography. And the other one is, in African homes, it is very hard to have a conversation around sex. In terms of, it is a censored topic in terms of no one would want to have a conversation with the young people about what is expected of you and what is not expected to you. And so we find that young people end up viewing these sites to, get to learn more about what is this thing called sex education. And then also the environment in terms of social media. Recent statistics have shown that there's an increased spike in terms of people being on social media day in, day out, be it when you're at home, when you're leaving work, or when you're traveling in the matatu. And within social media, this is where also the other exposure to nude images start. And these, provides a step where now one progresses from now viewing photos to going and seeing the videos on the different sites. So I think these are some of the things that push the young people, and also seeing that they do not have someone holding their hand, telling them that this is not a right path you're supposed to follow in. Then when they come to realize they are in too deep and they cannot come out by themselves.
Thank you, Brother Joel. That's very insightful. Joel has mentioned technology, and technology is all around us. We are almost in a dispensation where internet is everywhere that we go. And I'm thinking about the little children who are also can access technology and access the internet. A friend of mine once said, my child cannot hold my phone because my phone is not sanitized. And here we are with technology, and we can give our phones to our children, and sometimes even take them to the cartoon sites. Are the cartoon sites safe? Technology as a factor of predisposure. I would like to bring in our sister Emily. What about technology? And what can parents do to ensure that they've created a safe environment around younger children and the youth on matters technology and pornography?
Okay, I'm just thinking about, as a parent, we need to, the children, as they are growing, these young children, giving them these gadgets. Sometimes these gadgets, they are those things that pop. So you find a child has this gadget, maybe was doing something that is innocent, and this thing pops up and is wanting to know what is this thing that is popping up. And at the end of the day, as we are told, the way we have been wired, when immediately they see these things, they become interested, and little by little, every time they want to look for more from this. So technology has really, it's a good thing, and again, it's a bad thing. But as a parent, we need to look for time, have time in the, if the children have gadgets, have time that the gadgets can only be used at this particular time. And as a parent, also look for ways, now there's technology that you are able to control the gadgets that the children have. So you can get somebody to help you out there to set for you this gadget so that you're able to see what is this child doing, or what the child, if it is YouTube, we have now YouTube for kids, so that if it is YouTube, they want to watch something from there, they are only able to access the YouTube for kids. Because now we're in a world where people do not care. I was reading somewhere where there are some countries also they're trying to fight with in some countries they're trying to fight and see whether they can be able to create laws on how this technology can be able to minimize some of these things that are endangering our young children. And probably I'm thinking that's the way we should go as a country, so that we don't live, because sometimes again you say, even if as much as you want to control as a parent, there are times when you're not there. That parent, that kid might know you are not there and be able to maybe go to the neighbors, even if you have not given him a phone, they will go to the neighbors' houses over the holidays, and there they find the neighbors' children, they're also doing the same thing. So probably even as a country, I'm thinking we should be able to sit down and think, what can we do to be able to safeguard our children from these sites?
Thank you so much. Dr. Rose?
Thank you. I want to make an addition to what Yaribo and Emily have said. I want to speak to the parents. Children are malleable, they are dependent, and they are vulnerable. So these children are depending on us for us to guide them. They are like clay. So in everything that we do, I know as parents we say, oh, I'm busy, I'm what? But in everything that you do, just remember that God has put you there to be the leader. You are the one to lead the children and not the other way around. So in everything that you do. In the morning, we learned that the world is not safe, but we can make our homes a safe haven. How can we do that? If we speak openly to our children, let them know that this is a safe space. If you have a question, you will ask me and I will respond. And by empowering ourselves with information, then when a child asks a question, those awkward moments will be minimized because we can be able to respond to them. And Emily has brought up a very important point that you can minimize at home, but the children are going to the neighbors. Now, if we look at the internal environment of the child, so that we are teaching them consistently to pick right from wrong, when they go and they find something is not in order, they will actually leave. One time there's a child who visited a neighbor, a child I was taking care of, then they came running. And I asked, why are you running? They said, I met people kissing in that house. The child ran away because he had been taught this is not okay. So the child ran away. So information is power. Let's try and equip ourselves so that we minimize the moments where we feel awkward. And also something else, many of us as parents, we are keen to give our children what we didn't have, and we are not giving them what we had. Let me explain. We are very keen to give our children what we didn't have, and not keen to give them what we had. We want to give a 3-year-old a smartphone because I didn't have, let my child enjoy. We don't want to give our children work because we were given work. We worked, okay, for most of us. We worked, we were given work. We washed our clothes, we washed our dishes, we swept the house because an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So we give them everything to make life so easy, and then the children have so much energy and idle hands, and definitely there will be the devil's workshop. So as we give them what we didn't have, please let's also give them what we had. Everything in moderation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Emily and Dr. Rose, for that wonderful, wonderful insight. I think a lot of attention, a lot of care should be put so that we avoid the first exposure, especially for our young children. And it's important for parents and all of us to note that even the cartoon sites that our children watch are not free and are not sanitized, if I may use that word. So it's important, as Emily had said, that we take time to review the content. If your children are watching Vivo, take time to review Vivo and see what is the content in Vivo. It might be a cartoon appearing in YouTube Kids, but still it is not sanitized. I want to bring Dr. Onyancha to also put in a word on that. And also, while she has done that, she'll also be able to take us to another frontier, where we're going to talk about pornography and the intersection between it and violence. Most of the time people say that it doesn't hurt anyone. It's about me and my pleasure. But now studies are showing that there is a very strong intersectionality between pornography and violence. So I'll bring in Dr. Onyancha to put in a word on technology and exposure. Then she'll go ahead and address the intersectionality between pornography and violence.
Thank you so much. I was very keen to hear what are these risk factors from the point of the youth. And thank you, because one of it that I wanted to speak to is the issue of taboos. Since we are in church and we know that the seeds which fell where there was a lot of thorn, and the writer of that particular says that the thorns is actually some of the traditions. If it is so much a taboo to talk about sex, where do you want this youth to know about sex? And it came out very clear. How open are we in discussing these things that are very intimate? I think we need to know that we are living in another generation. There's what we call preemptive, and that is what we were talking about. If a child already knows about pornography and we have discussed, and you actually openly and we have discussed about it, that particular child or youth is likely to run away when they see people doing it, because already they know that I will start like this, I am likely to be addicted, and these are the consequences, like what you've been doing. So as Dr. Misati talked about, we need to create time. You may not stop your child from going to your neighbors because it is very difficult, you are not there. But how much have you empowered this child, this youth, as far as what is expected? We need to come out of our cocoons about the issue of taboos. Let us speak it as it is. You remember those saying where a child used to ask you, where does a child come from? And then you tell them, oh, I went and bought from a supermarket. You know, those children go to the supermarket, they never get children there. So they are wondering what. I think we need to really be very sincere. And if we are Christians, let us speak about it and tell the children about the impending danger that there is. We need to know that any addiction, leave alone pornography, is very, very closely related to violence. Violence, for those who listened in the morning, those who are there, we realize violence is not about beating only. We talk about sexual, we talk about emotional, the psychological. It is interesting to note that even the words that come out of our mouth actually causes violence. It's a form of violence. And I think, ladies, we are all victims of this. When you find maybe a child has broken that valuable cup, that one, the one which was meant for visitors, how do you respond? All of us in one way. I know we are talking of the extreme of pornography. Once you are addicted to anything, then your reasoning, your thoughts, your feelings are completely affected. In fact, how we describe is like you are hijacked
by whatever that you are addicted to. Look at an hijacked vehicle. If you are in that vehicle, you will drive to where that person tells you, at gunpoint, isn't it? So look at pornography like it's a gun. It's already in itself is violence. So it is directing you to do whatever you have to do at whatever cost. Whether you are supposed to be maybe in a meeting, but you really have to get time and look at it. You know, when you look at addiction, the one which is very obvious about chemicals, we reach a point where somebody has to, they say you remove a rock, a lock, you take something for you to function. If you are not in your normal state, then in the first place, you are not even likely to understand that your behavior in itself is actually violence. Those that you relate to, they may not understand, and that is why we are creating such awareness that sometimes it's good to know if somebody is in pornography, then you know that there is going to be a breach of peace in that home because they will not be understood. And therefore, that connection between the addiction, the pornography, and the violence is such that when one is there, you cannot remove violence from addiction of pornography. The worst part of it actually is the emotional, because people around you do not know how to treat you anymore. You become so different, they become very frustrated. In yourself, I think we'll be looking at this, you are so ashamed of the act and you can't come out of it. You can imagine how it is. So it is like some people have even tried to actually self-harm themselves because of that particular addiction of pornography. So violence is very thin, and as I said, in any addiction, the behavior change is such that you are unlikely to relate to your normal environment in the normal way. So you are likely to be conning, you may be actually physically, sexually, and I think I saw a study which is saying that pornography predisposes men to around 300% infidelity. So because you see, as Dr. Misati talks about, what comes after you have now exposed yourself to pornography, what is the sequel of events? So, and we are talking about addressing the root cause in the morning of actually violence, then one of the things is that we need to find out how deep are you in that pornography. Can you be assisted if you really want to have peace? That is the opposite of violence. Thank you.
And I think something else that Dr. had mentioned earlier on is the aspect of irritability. And when we are irritable, sometimes we don't really think about how the other person is affected, and we may just end up being violent emotionally or physically. That's a probability also. I want to move us to the next part of this discussion as we progress. And that's where we are talking about the consequences of pornography. We realize that it's not just an harmless fun. It is harmful in ways that we might not fathom. And allow me to bring in Dr. Kireki to start us on and give us some more insight on the sexual consequences of pornography. And also let us know if there is a relationship between it and masturbation and how the two affect us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for bringing me in at this point. I just want to take us a little bit back to where this is an industry, number one. Let's accept it's an industry. It's a huge industry. When I was looking up material for this discussion this afternoon, I came across the statistics. And the statistics about the industry are just mind-blowing. We don't think about it, but there it is. It says the pornography industry is larger than the combined revenue of all the top technology companies. That is Microsoft, Google, Netflix, Amazon, Yahoo, Apple put together. Put together, it is not enough It does not actually reach where the pornography industry is. So it's a huge, huge, huge industry which the devil is actually using to enslave as human beings, to enslave as children of God. It went a little bit further. I came across again some more information. It says, just to add on some of those statistics that Sister Misati and John talked about, 3% of boys and 17% of girls have never seen internet pornography. So 3% of boys and 17% of girls have never seen, meaning 97% of boys have actually seen internet pornography. And 83% of girls have not seen internet pornography. So this is something which is taking our children, taking our youth, taking our young adults, taking us adults as well by storm, by huge, huge storm. In one of the clips that I watched, and actually this is a program which was on 3ABN, you can actually go and watch it. And here, one of the presenters said they went out on a mission, I think to Cuba. And what is interesting is that the main speaker of that evangelism, call it evangelism, Cuba, who was very eloquent about tabernacle, about the sanctuary and its connection, to prophecy and so on and so forth, was actually addicted to pornography and masturbation and sexting. This was an evangelist in our church. Went a little bit further. One of the elders actually who was there, they actually even mentioned the name, was also an addict of pornography. So in as much as we keep on talking about these statistics out there, let us come home. Let us come to Jerusalem. Let us talk about Jerusalem before we go out to Samaria and Judea and to the rest of the world. Coming back to what you have assigned me to talk about, what pornography actually, how does it affect, sexual relationships later on? Some of these things, in some of the statistics, they say there are children as young as 7 years who are actually addicted to pornography. This is a tragedy, a huge, huge tragedy. So some of the consequences of pornography, number one, for example, is premature ejaculation. Now, we have watched those ones who have watched this pornography. They've seen how these call them stallions, behave, and they expect that whatever they visually see is actually going to be transferred into real life. And they find life is completely different. So, number one, there's premature ejaculation. So you are not able to satisfy your partner. So you start having feelings of anxiety. You start feeling less of a man than you are, and so on and so forth. So what do you do? Again, we go back to the mechanism which Dr. Onyancha was talking to us about. So you want to get more of it so that you can be able to be up to the task, and you are not able to up to the task. Number two, erectile dysfunction. That is another thing altogether. You think that what you see or what they see on the screen is actually what is going to happen, later on in real life. And when you find that is not happening, again, the same feelings, of inadequacy, the same feelings of anxiety and so on and so forth set in. One is not able to actually have proper intimate relationship. Remember, when God created sex, God did create sex, by the way, and we don't talk about this in church. So I'm glad that you actually mentioned it, that we as parents are not talking about it. So it is time we started talking about these things in church, in a safe environment where the young people can actually access this information. So if you're not able to have that intimate relationship with this person, then obviously emotionally you are not there, psychologically you are also not there, and so on. Do these lead to depression? I think they do. They do, because once you start feeling, no, I'm not a proper man, or I'm not a proper woman, anxiety comes in, low mood, you don't want to do this. It's just a downward slope into depression and the consequences that come to that. Dr. Onyancha has very clearly talked about what happens when addiction sets in. You're not able to work, you're not able to go to school, you're not able to realize yourself. So again, it's a vicious cycle. The first thing that I think we should suggest is, it's actually very clearly written. I think Job says in Job 31 verse 1, he says, I have a covenant with my eyes, such that I don't think, or I don't look at a young woman. So I think that is the first thing we should do. And David also talks about that I do not put evil things before my eyes. So if you don't see it, you don't watch it, you will not get addicted. Somebody said it's like crack, cocaine crack, that it only takes one try, and that one try may be the end of it. You'll get hooked, and that's about it. Thank you.
Kindly allow me to make a comment, to make an addition. The images that people watch on pornography, number one, there are no real bodies that look like that. You will see bodies that look perfect, having the right proportions everywhere. But then when you see, when you want to think about it in real life, that is a demon that has a shape like that. A real human being has something big, something small. So people see unrealistic bodies, then they come to see their partner looks like they are flawed. Another thing is that in pornography, sometimes people have the sexual act for very long. They are on drugs, they are on something, they are high on something. Lately, we had a lot of men in our country, senior, older men, dying, as it's called, on the line of duty. Having taken, drugs so that they can perform with younger women, they die in the line of duty. And sometimes people say it's a 3-minute man, it's a 5-minute man. Who told you how long sex is supposed to take? Maybe it's actually supposed to take 3 minutes. Maybe it's supposed to take a minute. But because somebody has watched pornography where people seem to go on and on for an hour, and so they think that is what is meant to be. Another thing is objectification of women. Women being used as an object to satisfy the sexual needs, mostly of their male partners. So you will find when somebody is accustomed to watching pornography, they look at a woman, they simply see body parts. They are seeing the breasts, they are seeing the hips, they are seeing everything. They don't see the woman as a full, complete, wholesome human being created by God. So when they take this person, maybe they have married them, and the person is not able to satisfy their sexual needs, they think the person is useless. I don't think that is the way God intended us to see each other. God intended us to see each other as wholesome, healthy human beings. You know why? Because sex is not something to be given to men. Sometimes you hear men saying, I'm asking, give me. Give you what? Or some people say, I'm giving sex to my husband. Sex is not about giving. This is the demonic way that we have seen. Sex is an act that is enjoyed, pleasurable, holy, and natural in a marriage. Mutuality, not about giving another person to enjoy. So all these images have been perpetuated, and then you will find, especially when somebody is watching, when they are very young, when they are vulnerable, malleable, and dependent, that is the expectation that they have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. for that addition. It's very, very informative. And Dr. Kireki shared some statistics that are just mind-blowing. Yeah. When he speaks about the 97% of boys, I come back home and I have 2 sons, so I'm thinking 97% of them means that one of my sons probably has been exposed to pornographic material. And I want everyone who is watching us this afternoon to also go home and take those statistics home and ask yourself, really. And also something else that is mind-blowing is that some of the erectile dysfunctions, premature ejaculations, and part of what probably you have not elaborated on could have their roots on pornography. Dear viewer, we are taking a short break, and after this break we'll be back to be able to explore more on the consequences of pornography. What could a parent do when you realize that your child has already been exposed or is addicted to pornography? And of course, is there hope for the afflicted? We take a short break and we will be back with you in a moment. Welcome back, dear viewer. We are talking about pornography. We are talking about the fact that pornography is not just a harmless fun, that it indeed harms people, the individual that is consuming, and the people around that individual. And we had started on the consequences of pornography. And Dr. Kireki led us into so much insight on the sexual relationships consequences of pornography. Now I want to bring in our brother Joel to let us in the emotional consequences of pornography. Brother Joel.
All right, thank you. So I think before I actually share more on the emotional bit, I want to read 2 verses from Proverbs chapter 6 on verses 27 and 28, which says, "Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burnt?" 28, "Can one go upon hot coals and his feet not be burnt?" What am I saying? What the Bible exactly saying to us? That every action that we indulge in has a consequence. And the very same case applies to those who indulge in pornography. And as Dr. Kireki has pointed out under the sexual bit. So I'm going to touch a few aspects emotionally that affect people who indulge in pornography. And number one is loneliness, in terms of you now crave only your time alone. You don't want to interact with people, which defies the odd of why even the very act of sex was created in the first place, which is to create that intimacy between the husband and the wife. And then the other thing is relationship strains. You cannot be able to maintain relationships with the other gender because you only crave satisfaction that you gain yourself because of what you indulge in. And then number 3 is lower self-esteem, which I think came out clearly in terms of, these are some of the after effects of people who indulge in these, in that 1, they become lazy in terms of they don't get to do their work. 2, they drop off school. And with lower levels of self-esteem, one may not be able to really reach up to their top expectations in terms of work, school, even giving up to your families. And then number 4, and this really made me shook a bit when I came across it, it normalizes sexual harm. In terms of now, it becomes, women are seen as objects in terms of being people. And so violence is also now brought into this bit. And once it progresses, also depression comes in. And then number 5, it shapes negative attitudes and behavior towards men. This is mostly from the young men who indulge in these. And they actually don't get to see them as people who you can respect, people who you can have meaningful conversation with, but rather people who are there to satisfy you and to give you the simple pleasures for the moments that you're looking for.
Thank you so much, Brother Joy, for letting us into that. Pornography also affects us spiritually. And I think this is a matter of grave concern because it affects us spiritually in the place where it matters. And I want to bring in Sister Emily to take us through the spiritual consequences of pornography.
Thank you. Indeed, pornography has spiritual consequences. One of the spiritual consequences, the main one, is that it destroys the ability to comprehend spiritual issues. You'll find this particular person, X, is no longer interested in anything that is even at home, is no longer interested with the word. Maybe this person used to read the Bible, no longer reads the Bible. Being told to go to church, he will give excuses either to come later or does not. Actually, it cuts off anything called where God is being touched. It does not concern that particular person. And it's a real concern. It's a real concern. Yes.
Indeed, pornography affects us or affects those who consume of it and the people around them in such a great way that we cannot ignore and we cannot manage to remain silent. We need to talk about it. We need to share information. We need to create awareness, right from the young children all through to the old. Now, this is the reality of what pornography does. And I know the reality makes most of us feel very uncomfortable. So the question is, what shall we do? I bring back Sister Emily again. What shall we do as parents to be able to protect our children and our youth? What shall we do?
Pornography, once I was reading about this topic sometimes back, and I realized that so many of us as parents, I don't know, we find it as an awkward subject to discuss with our children, but it's a high time now we discussed with our children, we sat them down. We have a responsibility as stewards to talk to our children, to train them. As Dr. Rose said, let them know right from wrong, so that when they go to that neighbor's house and see that wrong thing that you have been teaching them, they are able to make a decision and say, no, this thing is not right. And then they are able to excuse themselves. So many times God reminds us, remember. And it is our responsibility as parents to keep reminding our children all the time. These young ones, they need our supervision. Even on the issues of the net, when they are going to their phones, we need to monitor and filter everything that they watch, everything that they listen to, they read. It's our parental responsibility. As parents, we need to instill values. These values, such that the values that you instill with them are able to disapprove of some acts which they will see they are wrong acts. And so by that, we will be able to help them so that they are able to recognize that this thing is not right. Teach them when they see such things. For example, with the small children, when you see something they are doing wrong, they are kissing, close your eyes. And you know, once you tell the little ones that, they'll see people kissing, then they'll do. That is something that you will have done as a parent. You know, it starts with small, and later as they grow up to youths, they'll be able to differentiate right from wrong.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Doctor.
You know, we are talking a little bit removed from reality. We are talking about people out there. We are talking about, what happens out there. Now, we have these children in our homes. See, they are our children. We have bought them gadgets. They are not 6 years, they are not 8 years, where you can tell them, if you see somebody kissing, close your eyes. They are 14-year-olds, they are 15-year-olds, they are 16-year-olds. They have gone to school, they have these gadgets. You have taught them that this is not what you're supposed to do. This is not what you're supposed to see. And then they see the peer pressure. They see it amongst their friends, they whatever. I mean, when you see your friend, you say, hey, unaangalia nini? And we said that if you don't watch it, you will not get up. And they start by, small incrementals. So how do we, I think that is where that's the crux of the problem. How do we now try and sort of ring fence, if you can put it that way, our children against some of these things? Because they are at home with us. We buy internet, we call it free internet. Maybe they could even be addicted in our homes and we don't know. Come on. How many of us have ever asked, Ebu, leta yo simu niangalie? They will tell you, Dad, this is my phone. And even my password, I can't give you my password. So how are you going to know? So let's try and come home a little bit.
Thank you so much. In the spirit of coming home a little bit or a lot, I feel that it's important. I really completely agree and get what Sister Emily and Dr. Kireki are saying. We actually need to get home as parents. I know we have said this before here on this pulpit, but I will just say it again. Personally, I do believe and I am convicted beyond measure that if you're under my roof, you are my child. And if I bought that phone and I'm the one paying for the internet, there's no secrecy. There's a difference between privacy and secrecy. Let me explain. Privacy is whereby when I go to the bathroom, you know what I'm doing, but you don't come and get in. Okay? Secrecy is whereby I'm somewhere and I'm locking myself because I don't want you to come in. I believe as a family value, people in the same family, eating food from the same pot and hopefully worshiping the same God, I don't believe in secrecy. In terms of, I believe no passwords on gadgets. A parent told me last week that their child had a phone. When he went to school, the father's phone got spoiled. So he really needed a phone. So they took that phone for the son, and they wanted the father to use tentatively as he buys the phone, because he works from the phone. He realized there are passwords and passwords and passwords, up to 100 passwords. Even when a message comes in, you need a password to open that message. And she looked and said, what? Passwords upon passwords. So I believe by us leading by example as parents, no passwords on the parents' phones, and then no passwords on the children's phones. And I also believe that as a younger child, no phones in the bedroom. You use the phone in a public place, and then you go to sleep, put the phone in the family basket. And I also believe as the parent, I can have the phone. I don't have to, but I can have the phone, I can check. So that way, the child will actually, when they're experiencing a lot of pressure, because the pressure will come, they will be a little bit fearful that my parents are going to have access to it. And if you have gone to school and there's a phone you're using, you have left it, I can have the phone and I can check. So no secrecy, but we can have privacy. Because I am the parent, and also giving information, talking to them so that they know the dangers. I will tell you, some of us are here today because when we were in school, there were no phones. You will receive a letter that will take 3 months to arrive. During the holiday, because the boy knows where your home is, or the girl, but mostly it was the boys, they come looking for you. Now, they cannot access you because you're in the shamba, cooking, firewood, everything. So they can only walk around at the time you go to the river. And when do you go to the river? Morning or evening? Remember, they are afraid of your father or your brothers. Umbwakali. We didn't need dogs. We had umbwakali, father and the brother. They look for you the entire holiday. They can't find you. So they go. By the time they are finding you, you have finished Form 4. So you are given a bit of space to go to the market. By that time, because they were busy looking for you when you were reading, they probably failed the exams and you passed. And you're telling them, I'm going to college. And then they're telling you maybe a village polytechnic. And you look at it, you're like, okay, look for your category. So we were saved because of the limited access. So I feel as parents, we need to also limit the access. And this is not to say that 100% things will turn out well. But I say, what is within your reach as a parent? Just do it and commit to the Lord that He will complete that which He has started. Thank you.
And most of the time when we talk about what shall we do, we talk about telling, sharing the information, creating awareness. But we forget one important factor that Dr. Rose has mentioned, is leading by example. Which kind of behavior are the children modeling? You're watching a movie and you say, close your eyes because there is adult content. And they will ask you, Mommy, Daddy, what is adult content? And you say it is pornographic and violence, but you're watching. So it is important that we model by also showing the right behavior. And let me bring back Emily, speaking for the parents, to also add something into that. Then we are going to move swiftly to consider what then shall we do if somebody is afflicted.
A research was done some times back concerning this, and the research says parents who talk about such topics, be it relationship, sex, condom use, will delay their children in indulgence of such habits. Parents who talk about such topics with their children, relationships, sex, condom use, name them, will delay in their indulgence of such. And also we are advised that even to connect with these children, our youth, sit down at the dinner table. Okay? Let's sit down at the dinner, not sitting out at the dinner table and everybody has a phone. I remember one time somebody saying, it's only the cat that is here that does not have a phone. Everybody's tuko hivi na tunakula. Have a place. Keep, like Sister Rosa said, keep those phones. When you reach at home, keep those phones there on that basket. Okay? Have family time together until the following day. Pick them from there. And that way we will reduce the so much devil that is in these phones. Because sometimes as youths also have said, you do not know I'm holding this phone probably even in church. We come with the phones in church and you're thinking you're saying you're reading your Bible from the phone. Surely there's so much devil that you'll be distracted even with this phone. You cannot use this phone as a Bible. Okay? So it's good when we talk over this, talk to our children, talk to our young people, and let's talk to ourselves as parents. Let's be an example, okay? Let's be an example. Let's be the sermon that we are preaching to these young people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Rose, I am a parent. I bought the phone, I pay for the internet. And because I own the phone, isn't it? My child's phone, and I pick it up for some reason. Then my fingers take me to history on the web, history on the internet. And I can trace that this child has been on porn site for so long, even late in the hours. As a parent, what do I do? How do I respond?
Thank you so much. That's a good question, and it's so real as it comes. A lot of times I receive frantic calls from parents exactly on the same thing, that I have found this. What exactly do I do? Let me say this. Your action is never an emergency. It should never be an emergency that you want to act. Another parent told me she wants to rush to the school because the child had gone to school back, boarding, and because she saw that, she said, I'm rushing to the school and calling that child and thrashing them thoroughly in school. I told her that is never an emergency because it started a long time ago. So it started a long time, so your reaction right now will not really add much value. It may destroy. So as a parent, practically, take deep breaths. 10. Breathe in and out. You rewire your brain as you breathe in and out. You distract yourself from that. If you need to run around the block, run around. If you need to do push-ups, do push-ups. If you need to do sit-ups or whatever, do them. Drink a glass of water. And just sit down and relax first of all and think. That way you will think more rationally. And so when you get that child, get a moment, not shouting, not yelling at the child, but in a calm, cool, collected way, try and understand. Confront them with what you have found. So not using parables, not imaginations, just say, I have come across this. Can you help me understand what was happening? If possible, you may want to do it outside the home because it can be very emotional. So you take them out, you go somewhere, a safe place, and you tell them, please help me understand what this is. Avoid beating a child for that. Avoid embarrassing. Avoid shaming. Okay? I know a lot of us might have done that, but just avoid do it. Avoid calling your relatives and telling them what you have found your child doing. Avoid calling their friends. And if you find they were maybe sexting with a friend, you have no moral authority to contact that friend first. Deal with your child, as Dr. Kiriaki said, deal with your Jerusalem. So let the child help you understand where it started, how it started, and let them know that they have made that choice, but you will still love them. You love them. You will always be there as their parent, and you're willing to help. Now, you cannot force change on anybody. They can only choose. And let them know, my son, my daughter, if this is what you have chosen, you know our family values, you know what God says about it, you know what I feel about it. And you let them know the consequences, and you remind them, as I said, let me emphasize that you're there to support them. So whatever it takes, if it's emotional support, give it. If they need to see a professional, pay for them, accompany them to see the professional, okay? And encourage them to get an accountability partner. You can be, but sometimes it's safer if they get somebody they love, somebody they trust, they respect, to be an accountability partner every step of the way. Avoid sermonizing. That is not the right time for sermons. Avoid sermonizing. Avoid raining fire and brimstone on them. Avoid throwing Bible verses, and avoid reminding them that they were baptized. Because they will also remind you that you have been baptized and you have been causing violence. And I like what Sister Pacifica said, that as women particularly, because we have more words, we have been perpetrators. This week, I was about to cause violence because somebody broke a whole container of olive oil, mine. And then somebody yesterday just broke my nice, beautiful glass mug that I used to take my dawa. I was just about to cause violence. And I just remembered I was coming to preach on violence. And I breathed in and out. And I just said, I'm very disappointed, but it's okay. I wasn't saying it happily at that point. I said, it's okay. It's okay. I kept breathing. So this morning, as I was making dawa for myself, I had to use a melamine mug because my beautiful glass mug was done. I'm still going through therapy in my mind. So I'm getting better. But I didn't cause violence. I didn't cause violence because I remembered I'm coming to talk about violence. So as a parent, even if you find your child, try not to cause violence with your words at that point, because whatever words actually influence our thoughts, and our thoughts influence words. So whatever words we say, they will shape the destiny of this child. Thank you.
And I think what Sister Rose is hilariously trying to also express is that we are work in progress, and having the right information is important. Then you will know how to do. You may have failed in the past. You may fail in your first attempt or when you are confronted by some of these situations, but we don't give up. When we remember, we act proper, isn't it?
That's true.
Dr. Kireki, now I have taken my 10 breaths, my 10 glasses of water, and I have thought and rethought and rethought. Is there a way for my afflicted youth? Is there a way for my afflicted child? Or my afflicted husband or wife? Is there a way?
I think there is always a way. There is always a way, just like what Sister Rose here has talked about. Number one, take a step back. Take a step back and try to analyze the situation quietly and calmly, and then talk to the person. That is number one. Number two, she mentioned about help. Help may not come from you because you may not be emotionally able or in a situation whereby you can actually help this person. So let us not be macho and think that I am the father, I am the mother, and I have all the information, and I have all the wisdom, and this child must listen to me because if they listen to me and respect me, then they will have a long life. No. Take a step back. There are people out here who can actually help us. We don't have all the information, and we may not have actually all the information that we need. So the second thing that we need to do is to identify a person who can help us. Can be a psychologist, can be Dr. Onyancha here. Say, look, I'm looking for help, and this is way. You may actually find that some of these behaviors have actually a root somewhere very far back. So once we go out there and be there with that person, be it your child, be it your wife, be it your husband, be there. Let them open up, and then they'll start bringing up things which to you may not actually have no meaning at all, but to them can be something which is very huge and which actually needed an escape. And this was actually the escape that they came out with and they found. So we need help. Talk to them, as Sister Rosie said, involving your relatives and whatever is actually going to make matters worse. Because later on they'll say, I had a problem, and the only thing that you did, you called your brother, you called your sister, and you made my problem public, and who told you I wanted to talk? And you know they never forget about it. They will remind you. So let's look for this help. So I would kick the ball to Dr. Pacifica Onyancha and say, how do we now come back? And how do we now start helping this person, be it a young man, be it, any of us, because this pornography actually affects even mature people. So let's not just talk about young people. Let's talk about us as adults as well.
Thank you so much. I just want to, before I reach there, I just want to add on what we have talked about. What is the response and how do you start? One of the things that we have seen, or I've seen in my short practice, many at times we want to bend this tree when it is already very old. What do I mean? We have been very, very busy. We are so serious investing for these children and everything, and we have forgotten to invest in them in terms of time, in terms of advice, in terms of information. Sister Rose talked about, yes, there are family values and other. When did you start putting those values? The earlier you start, the better. Sometimes it pains me when I am in the clinic and I'm trying to ask a simple question. How often do you have family meetings? What is that? Somebody asks, what is that supposed to be? When was the last time you shared a meal? Somebody looks at you like, what? Are you getting my point? And I want to bring this because I didn't know. One of my daughters told me the other day, Mom, I thank God that you did not build a big house when we were young. I think we could have grown up, become very bad people. Then what do you mean? Yeah, this one here, everybody's in his room. How often do you share, even if it means air, just seated somewhere and discussing about issues? You don't have to have money. And by that, then, the children, you are making this child your friend. So that you don't have to wait and see and be surprised by what is in the phone. I want to go back and say, how do you tell that somebody, there's a problem? If this is a child you have been following very closely and you discuss as a family together, you will see the change of behavior because they will not even have time for family meetings. So you don't have to wait for the phone. You may not even see the phone. You may not. So you have to be careful, because if you are investing in the child and not for the child, and I hope you know the difference, then you are likely to pick this very early. The other thing I want to say, and Dr. Kleke has mentioned about it, is that not every child who has gone to pornography is because of pleasure. I talked about 5 things if you followed me. Some of them go there as a self-medication because of a past trauma. It becomes actually an scapegoat, a displaced activity. Are we together? So we need to actually understand. And during these family meetings, you are likely to understand, and somebody is able to open up and actually talk about the issues they are dealing with, depending on how you make the environment friendly. So I just want to talk about, yes, a child has entered that, the pornography and what, and the reason why Dr. Kleke is saying that you really need somebody outside you, because you need to find what is the root cause. How did you start? Whenever I am dealing with an addiction, I go back to the first time. The very first time. How did you get that? If it was a picture, a narrative, how did you start that first bottle? Are we together? And you will find that many at times, it is a time maybe this person has a very, very high expressed emotions. They are just going to do that to calm down. Let me use the calm down their nerves. So if you do that, then it means that you need to address the root cause. What led this person to be addicted to this? For you to remove it. Going back to what I said, what has happened in the brain, then you need to understand that at this moment, even the child, the young person, or even the adult is not happy with what he's doing. So there's a lot of shame, there's a low self-esteem. So at least scolding them is actually like pouring what? Fire on already burning. So we need first to understand and have empathy. Some people just say, I don't want to hear, he's no longer my son, I've already written him out and everything. Excuse me, he's still your son. Even if you refuse, he's still your son. There is no other father, there is no other mother. He's your son. The only thing that is your addicted son or addicted. So what you need to understand is you cannot change nature. Secondly, there is hope that now what you are doing is not, you are not just looking at pornography, you are looking at what has happened in this person as far as the brain is concerned. And then you have to do the retraining. I mentioned the issue of receptors, having now been accustomed to a higher, maybe something affinity, I don't know whether you understand that. So you need now to assist this person by removing him from the exposure. Every time, for example, in child abuse and everything, there is what we call the rescue. You remove the person from the problem. And that is actually the genesis behind the rehabilitation. Is this person safe wherever they are? Then you remove them. Once you've removed them, then systematically you are going to desensitize those receptors. By now, making the person to be able to go back and use the amount of dopamine, whatever the natural pleasure-giving neurotransmitters back. It is not an easy thing, but it can be done. And the way the addiction went, especially for pornography, it is actually a gradual. It's not like the cocaine and the heroin, but then again, the recovery will be gradual. A point comes where you find now the person is having what we call dual diagnosis, whereby there is the dependency of that particular activity and the problem that caused this person is still there. For example, somebody with depression may actually turn to pornography to brighten up to be at least to be excited about it, and yet as the excitement comes, dependence comes in, but the depression is still there. It is not treated. So you must identify and diagnose that this person, beyond the addiction of pornography, there is something beyond. And therefore, for you to successfully manage, you must treat the two. And of course, you are going to deal with the withdrawal. Now that you are removing this person from where he has been, is now grounded in, you must deal with the withdrawal, which will come in all the mostly behavior. It's not like alcohol whereby you want to give an antidote, you want to give this, but this one now is behavior. And that is why it is important to actually be there, give psychosocial support while you leave the professionals to undo what has been done. There's the role of the psychotherapist who will be looking back. Maybe there is trauma in this particular person. Maybe there is a lot of violence in the past that led this person to be vulnerable to be able to go to the pornography. So we must address all that. A point reaches where these people need chemical support. Maybe the person has reached a point that throughout the night he can't even sleep because of those the changes that has happened. He needs support to be able to sleep so that he can be able to reorganize his brain. So there is hope. People have been treated successfully from whatever type of addiction. I know we didn't talk about masturbation. Masturbation is another big problem that is associated with pornography, and it's an addictive behavior that really also is treated like any other addiction. As I said, that doesn't matter whether it's chemical or it is non-chemical. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daktari. There is light and there is hope for one who is afflicted. A famous philosopher once said, I think, therefore I am. The power of thoughts. In finding resolution, in trying to deal with someone who is already afflicted, is there possibility that one can control their thoughts? I want to bring in Dr. Misati. And as you address that also, talk to us about overcoming shame, because we learned that pornography also brings a lot of toxic shame.
Thank you so much. So before I go to that, let me make a comment about what Dr. Pacifica has said about withdrawal. I've received a question many times where people tell me after they have overcome these addictions, there's a huge void. They have a lot of space and they don't know what to do. And at that point for me, I come in with life skills, whereby somebody learns life skills, teamwork, conflict resolution, self-soothing, because many times people escape into addictions because they never learn to self-soothe. Whereby, because we all will get to a point where we are overcome with stresses of life. What do you choose to do? Do you choose to take a run, call a friend, or do you choose to go take ice cream, take a beer, take a cigarette? So people need to learn to self-soothe. And one of the best insurances that I want to tell parents is teaching our children life skills. In fact, that is one of the ways we can raise children with a healthy self-esteem, who value themselves so much that they will be hesitant to self-destruct. So they choose healthier ways of coping with stress, because for sure stress is everywhere. So I want to talk about toxic shame. Porn addiction brings shame and guilt. There's a difference. Guilt says what I have done is bad or is wrong. Shame says I am bad. At my core, I am bad, I am useless. And I realize many times we have been telling our children, shame on you. Shame on you, you have no shame. We just throw words because they were thrown at us sometimes, not an excuse. So the thing is this, we need to overcome toxic shame, because toxic shame is likely to make one hopeless and helpless and lead to more addiction, because in pornography you feel accepted, you feel wanted. Here people want to have sex and somebody just is willing to have sex with them, and it's not like that in real life. So you want to feel that acceptance, so to deal with it, first of all, when the thoughts are coming, because indeed you cannot stop birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from nesting. So as the thoughts are coming, counter them with scripture passages. What does the Lord say? So when you're feeling I'm worthless, I'm useless, remind yourself, the psalmist says, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. When you're feeling fearful, remind yourself, 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, the Lord has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, of a sound mind. Memorize that scripture and say it. Shame thrives in secrecy and covering and hiding. Get a community. You don't have to come in church and stand and give a testimony. You don't have to go to the street and talk to everybody. There is that one person. There really must be that one person. Just somebody you can talk to. Let them be your accountability partner. It might even help if you track yourself. They can even help you track the sites that you go to, so that the next time you want to do this, you remember. My mother was my accountability partner, though a bit in a negative way growing up. She used to say, you get pregnant, I kill you. You get HIV and you die. So, and she would say, looking at me, and I would believe she'll kill me. So when I came to university and I'm becoming and I'm liking guys and they're liking me, I would just remember. So as I'm relating with them, I'm consciously aware that my choices will lead to death. Who wants to die? I didn't want to die. So later on, when I went to talk to her and I said, you said you'll kill me. She said, did you believe I was going to kill you? I won't. But then she said, you see, it saved you. Anyway, it may not have been put positively, but have an accountability partner. So that the time you're thinking of doing it, you will remember, I need to relate, I need to talk to that person. How will I say it? There may be moments that you may relapse, okay? You may relapse. The Bible says a righteous man falls 7 times, but the Lord lifts himself up, lift him up. So don't give up. If you relapse, you're aware. Next time, purpose, plan to do better. Make sure you make your choices correctly. If you know that by you being alone in that house and being lonely, you're going to do it, don't be alone. You might want to even move in and be with somebody. Finally, identify your triggers. Many times people are triggered when they have what we call HALT. H-L-T. Hungry, angry. L stands for what? Hungry, angry. I'm trying to remember what L stands for. Or tired. L stands for something. So the 4 of them. So identify your triggers. Are you triggered when you're hungry, when you're angry, when you're tired, or when you're frustrated, or whatever? So once you identify your triggers, you then replace that with a healthier way of coping. Will you drink water? Will you jog? Will you talk to your friend? Will you read? Will you go to work? And keep going. Remember, it takes a bit of time because you probably have been there for long. Recovery is a process. Every day you will feel better. So just keep going. Thank you.
Stay with us, dear viewer. We are taking a short break and we will be back with a session of questions and answers. Keep your questions coming. We'll be able to respond to them when we come back. And as we resume, she's going to take us through how to work with someone struggling with withdrawal symptoms.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that. Now, I said in withdrawal, or that in terms of dependency, we have 2 types of dependency. We have psychological and physical dependency. The withdrawal will take that same form, that we have actually psychological withdrawal, whereby somebody is actually, most of it is behavioral, emotional, and many at times the thoughts. When it comes to physical, these are even more serious ones, especially in drug addiction. It's because there are changes in the body due to, as I said, the amount of dopamine that is being unleashed to the body and all that. And then there's also what we call the activation of the sympathetic nervous system that overwhelms the body, and when you stop, now the body reacts. Of course, I want to use in the layman language that, they're asking, where is it? Where is it? I want you to look at when you are so angry and annoyed, and somebody has really annoyed you and you are sweating, you really want to respond to this person and put him or her where in the place. There's a lot of sympathetic activation, and the body is such that really I must get this. So in the process, you find people will be actually having diarrhea. This is now physical. You can have diarrhea, you can have vomiting, you are yawning continuously and profuse sweating. In some cases, you are actually confused. You can even go into a shock, the physical shock. And people have died from it. Sometimes people have even what we call hallucination, especially for alcohol. You see vivid dreams, things that are real. I remember one patient I admitted in one of the hospitals, and because he didn't have enough dose for that withdrawal, he woke up in the night and he realized He was sleeping, and I thought he was in the mortuary. Everybody was dead, and he has woken up. He's alone. So you can imagine yourself at that stage. So he woke up and he was running down the stairs, almost hurting himself. They are confused. So what I can advise the person who is asking, let the brother not try to withdraw on his own, because there is what you call support with the chemicals that is needed. That you must give this person, you must make sure that you have even replaced the fluids that is getting lost. You have given a medicine to make him to be able to sleep. You have given medicine to counteract that activation of the sympathetic nervous system. And by so doing, then you are able to help this person to have a smooth recovery or rather withdrawal. So if he is not able, I would want the person to be referred to a specialist, and they can be given those medication, and they can be able to go through the withdrawal. Secondly, that withdrawal will be accompanied with whatever that is there. For example, if somebody went to addiction because of alcohol, because of depression, the moment you stop, the symptoms, the signs and symptoms of depression flares up, and somebody feels very bad. That's the time people are very suicidal. People can even kill themselves at that particular time, because you see there's nothing that is masking the behavior. So really it is important for the professional to review the person, to support that person through that withdrawal.
All right, there are 3 more questions, but I'd want to merge 2 of them. So Brian Mogaka asks, how can we assist those who have low self-esteem or low self-image? This can be tied to the question from Nancy Washira, who says, growing up with negativity destroys one's self-image. In the morning, we said we should forgive the adults in our lives, but how do we improve our self-image so that we can avoid the negative choices?
Thank you so much for that question. I will, let me say something that I was trying to say before the break. So I said usually people are triggered by acronym HALT, A-H-A-L-T. Either you're hungry, you're angry, you're lonely, or tired. So you need to check anytime you feel you want to cause violence to yourself or to somebody else. You ask, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Or am I tired? Then you will manage appropriately. I just remembered. So the question is on a low self-worth. Let me go where it begins. No child is born feeling ashamed. No child is born with shame. When I used to take my son for swimming just before COVID, he will go when he's jumping into the pool and he'll say, Mommy, look at me. And he'll jump into the pool and I will clap for him. And many children are like that. You see them bouncing off and they want you to see them. And a child can just walk naked. They're walking naked comfortably because a child doesn't know shame. So shame is instilled by adults growing up. Now, self-esteem of a child between 0 to 12 years, the determinant of self-esteem is the parent. 0 to 12 years, determinant of self-esteem in a child is the parent. From the way the parent looks at the child, the way they talk to the child, the way they hold the child, the way they take care of the child, they communicate something. When a parent says, oh, I love my child, I always tell them, love is not the warm, fluffy, mushy feeling you're feeling. Love is what you do. So if I'm saying I love my child, and because I live in Rongai, I'm leaving my house 5 a.m., I come at 10 p.m., leave them asleep, find them asleep. It goes on and on day every day, and I'm saying, you know, I love my children so much. No, thank you. You don't love your child because your child does not experience love. Or you say you love your partner, but the way you talk to them, the way you don't spend quality time, you don't provide, then you say, but I love you. What? Love is a verb, not an action. So the way the person perceives is what is defined as love, not what you're feeling. I hope that's clear. So now the question is between 0 to 12, either by reason of rebellion, ignorance, or whatever else, the parent has not been able to instill a healthy self-esteem. So you have found yourself here as an adult. What do? Forgiveness is a major factor. Forgive them, for they know not what they were doing. Whether they knew, many times I ask all the children when they come to me and their parents have hurt them so deeply, I ask a question. Do you think your parents hurt you deliberately, intentionally, maliciously? 90% say no. They did all that they knew. 10% say yes. So my next question is, for those who say yes, I ask, Do you think a normal, healthy human being will want to hurt their child? Then they say, I don't think so. I think it's because of probably what they were struggling with. Because you cannot draw from an empty well. A person who has no love has got no capacity to give you love. Whether you beat, you shout, you yell, they can't give you love because there's no water in the well. So what are you drawing? So the thing is, forgive them because they didn't know or they neglected to know. Once you have forgiven them, you have cut the chains of anger, bitterness, resentment. So once you have forgiven, it's not about what you feel. You may not feel like forgiving, but you say, I have forgiven. And you try and pray. By the time you're saying their name, you open your eyes. It's real. So you try, as you keep speaking, you rewire your brain. So now you have forgiven. You are left with the damaged self. Now you begin doing what we call reparenting yourself. Giving yourself that which you are not given. You longed to hear words of affirmation from your parents. They didn't give you. Wake up every morning. Tell yourself, I am fearfully, I'm wonderfully made. I'm excellent, I'm great. I will achieve great things. Go out and buy yourself nice clothes. Buy yourself a book and read. Go out and have a nice meal. Prepare a nice meal for yourself. Think of that best friend or visitor coming to visit you, or your favorite uncle. What are you going to do? You make the best meal, serve them using the best dishes. Now that person is you. That special person is you. Do it to yourself. Now beyond there, be a blessing to somebody else. Because we were created for service, we were created to give. Begin an initiative to help other people who have gone through the same. Once you begin and you do a ministry, visit a children's home, talk to those who have been abused, serve in your local church. Once you do that, you deflect attention from yourself. And now you're focusing on helping somebody else and working together. Above everything, do what we were taught in Cradle Roll. Read your Bible, pray every day. One of the most powerful ways that I've found to rewire your damaged brain to a full, whole, healthy brain is memorizing scripture. Memorize scripture, one verse every day. And within 21 days, this is going to be the habits that you choose. You're going to form a habit. Within 63 days, that is going to be your lifestyle. Within 99 days, this is going to be your character. And your character will determine your destiny. So you can rewire your damaged brain no matter how badly. Nobody is so badly damaged that they cannot recover and see changes. Most of the times within a very short time. Get a support system. We were created for community. You cannot do it alone. Get somebody, a safe, trusted, protective, nurturing person who can be a surrogate parent. In case your parent is abusive, there are people all over. Even in the community of believers, the community of faith, get a person who believes in you, and then you can walk the journey of wholeness. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari. One thing that I've always told myself is that I'm a very unique being. And one way of dealing with low self-esteem is to stop developing our self-concept by comparing ourselves with the people around us. Let us identify ourselves, our strengths, our weaknesses, and while we may not love our weaknesses, we can accept that that is what makes us unique. Sometimes when I get nervous, I completely lose words. And instead of beating myself down because I lost words, I usually say, I am very unique. I'm the only person in the wide old world who can lose all the words like that. So looking at ourselves in a positive way, accepting our weaknesses, and of course doing something about it is a way of also working on building a better self-esteem. Another question, Brother Joy?
The last question is from Brian Mogaka, who asks, where here in Kenya exactly can people struggling with this addiction go for help? Do we have AAA for a rehab or a rehab center for that matter?
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you, Brian, for asking that. I know, especially if you are not aware, we have actually a number of rehabs now. But what is important is that first you identify that you need help. And if you need reference, of course, as I was introduced, I'm one of the psychiatrists with that addiction specialist. And therefore, We start by detox, which usually we do in a hospital, depending on how severe it is. And from there, then you are guided. We have a number of rehabilitation centers in Rongai, even Karen. We have some in Red Hill, Limuru. There are quite a number. I wish I could, maybe if we can leave his contact, we can always get in touch with him so that we can be able to direct him. And it's a very good gesture that one has reached a point where he's able, he knows that he needs help, and I know that he will own the problem and be able to solve the problem with support, both from the psychosocial and the professional, then he will be able. So what I'm saying is that depending on how severe the person is, in rehabilitation, we can have outpatient or inpatient, but that really is determined by the professional, depending on the assessment and what the level of addiction in somebody.
Thank you so much, Daktari. I believe that is very helpful, and it goes to show that we are gaining from these discussions. Because of time, we are coming to the end of our discussion this afternoon, and it is our hope that somebody has learned, somebody has been inspired, somebody has gained insight. And we trust that the Lord who has given the insight is able to deliver. So I want to give a round to my panelists to give their parting shots as we move towards the end. I'll start with Dr. Kiriki.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to give my parting shot. My parting shot is this. Number one, I think maybe 2 points. Number one, I want to thank the organizers, that is the Adventist women, for organizing this and for bringing this particular topic out for discussion. We know that this is a big problem, and there are many other problems which we sort of sweep under the carpet and we don't want to bring them up and talk about them. We are living in a society. These statistics actually show us that we are a microcosm of the society that we live in. So it's a very good thing that we as Karengata have started the ball rolling. We are talking about these topics. Let us talk about other more topics which are also not controversial, but we look at them as stigmatizing. We shouldn't be talking about them, but they affect us as Adventists, as Karengatans. Dr. Onyancha mentioned masturbation, also a huge topic which is connected with pornography. Maybe the next time Adventist women or any other group will actually say, today we are going to talk about masturbation in this church. What is it? Who is involved? Why is it? And so on and so forth. So the more we talk about this, as Joel said, the young people, or even us mature people, we have not had an avenue where we can actually, sort of verbalize some of these problems that we are having. So it is good that we've started, and let us continue this way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What I would like to say is that many times, now that in the morning, let me begin with our topic was bringing peace home, tackling youth violence from the roots. And the root is home. I want to speak my messages to the homes, to the parents especially. Many times I have adult children who reach out to me for help. Many of them, when they started the pornography, masturbation, and even homosexuality, they didn't have a language for it. They didn't know. Somebody introduced them and they had no idea, and it's something to try, and they tried and they got addicted, and that's when they are learning that there's something wrong with this. So I want to say that as parents, God has given you authority to lovingly and gently confront. So even when you see your child, for example, is isolated, as Dr. Onyancha said, they are not coming for family worship. They are not eating with the rest of the people. They are staying in their rooms for a very long time. They are staying on their gadgets for a very long time. What you need to do, just confront, just talk to them lovingly. Please help me understand. We have really missed you at the dinner table. Is there anything that we need to know? Is there a way that we can help? Do not be afraid. I see a crop of younger parents who are afraid of their children. They are so scared, and they have let the children completely run the home. When you let a child run the home, that is actually neglect, and that is abuse, that is violence. A child was not created, a child is not mature enough to govern themselves or to even run the home. So it's actually parental neglect when you let the children be the one running the home, because you know better, you do better. There's an African saying that says, what a child can see climbing on a tree, an adult can see when they are seated. So if you can see it mingled with the love of Christ, communicate to the child so that we don't wait until the time we are seeing it on the phone. We have seen the telltale signs and we're able to take intervention. The best of all is that protection is cheaper and better than cure. We can prevent it from the root. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I just want to appreciate the fact that we are here, as I say, not to make professionals, but to create awareness about this demon, they call pornography, and say that it is real. We have accepted it is real. Secondly, we have now knowledge to help. Who is going to be helped? Help yourself if you are actually in it. And secondly, you know how you can reach out and help those who don't. So this is a knowledge, and I always say that you can only give what you have. So if you don't have anything, you are unlikely to give. Parents, youth, let us go out, learn, and be able to give first to ourselves, as we are told, oxygen to yourself first, then reach out to others. Thank you.
Just to add on that is that we need to be intentional. We really need to be intentional as parents in all that we do. When I look at the account of David in 2 Samuel, David's pursuit of Bathsheba, he was in complete denial and blindness. But it's until Nathan had to use a parable that woke him up. So, confront denial with grace and truth. Let's not be so angry to these addicts, because that will not help, okay? Because they're also trying to understand what are they looking for, what is this that they're struggling with. So check your emotions before you talk to them. Help them see the beauty of restoration. Just like David, read for them Psalms, show them how David went through a period of restoration. And that way we'll be able to help one another. May the Lord bless you.
All right. My final remarks would be to the parents and to the church. Let us make our homes and the church a safe space where our kids can be able to open up and learn more about this subject. To the youths, if you are in this mess, kindly open up, find someone who you can trust, share this and seek help. And finally, I pray that this is going to be the prayer for the church and for the parents. So in the 3rd epistle of John, verses 4, it says, I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in the truth.
Thank you so much, dear viewer. This brings us to the end of our discussion, and we trust and hope that the information that we have learned today will help us first to help ourselves and also help the people around us. Together we can end violence. Together we can break the silence on these very important issues that affect us in our society, in our families, and more especially in our church. Thank you, and God bless you.
It was a very, very critical message, but a very difficult one to deliver. And you've done it so well. I think you've handled it so well. Our moderator, my sister, Florida, you did extremely well to moderate this. And maybe because you are sitting in between your colleagues, though in a different line. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for delivering this. We can all end violence in our homes. And pornography is not a subject that even a brave mother can discuss with her son. But we have to discuss it. I know one of the panelists, Dr. Rose Misati, she happens to be my yearmate in college. We joined university together, University of Nairobi. And she's still the lady I used to know at the University of Nairobi SDA group. And she said how circumstances made us or made girls to delay the problems. And when they finished high school, they reached university just because there was no opportunity to destroy themselves, isn't it? And she encouraged us to use that opportunity to deter the problem, to mitigate the problem. And I think that was a very good analogy. Our children are being brought in Nairobi. The only thing we can do is to do away with the internet. Thank you so much, Dr. Kereki. I know when this pandemic started, most people, maybe a few guys knew about him. But right now, even our children, even our house managers know Dr. Kereki Manwa. They even know when your session is going to come. They sit down to listen to you. It is so interesting. And today you've participated in this panel. We want to thank you, Daktari, for the work that you've done during this period. And again, I've mentioned Sister Florida, you've done well. We've been with you before, you came again, and you've handled it as a professional. And may God bless you in that particular ministry. And for my sister, Onyancha, Daktari, you came here and you told us mental illness must be handled. And when people commit suicide, we just brush them off and say, "Huyu amejinyonga." Then we throw them away, not knowing that these guys are suffering from a disease that can be treated. We thank you, Daktari. We will call you. We are going to be intentional that you come on again and again. Remember, all guys, I have 3 doctors seated in the panel, and you've made contribution, meaning that God is going to use you in this generation to save souls. Daktari, don't give up. My sister, Emily, I'm so grateful that you sat there to represent parents. Thank you so much for your contribution. We are following, and you've done it well, and I know the church is pleased with the participation. And for our young man who was representing youths, Joel Nyaribo, we are so grateful that you took this time to be here, and may God bless you. All the information that you've given us, one good thing that this information is in the internet. You can access it at any time. You can watch it in your bedroom. You can share it. In fact, I'd said I'm going to share this information with one of my teachers in high school. And when I was checking the guys who are participating, I saw one of my friends from another church following and participating and asking about a phone. And I say, oh, so people are watching this thing. They are not members of our church, but they are watching. I saw in the messages. And to my sister Sophie Mogaka, I want to salute you for the job well done. One thing I've noted about Sophie, she's very specific. We'll send you things and she will want you to do things in a particular way. I know you cannot do it better than that. You've done us proud for doing this, for the children, for saving our parents, for helping our children to find the right path. I want to thank you together with the council members for the work that you're doing. And for Mzee, thank you so much for standing always with her. And we want to appreciate you in that ministry. May God richly bless you. Church members, we are coming to the end of this meeting, and allow us to pray. And I want you to tune in again next Sabbath. We have very informative programs, and I want to tell you it can only be better. And I want to invite you again, those who have been following, please join us together again next week, and God will richly bless you. Let us pray as we finish. Gracious Lord, we want to thank you so much for this opportunity you've given us to listen to your servants. Thank you so much for the wisdom that you gave them. Lord, even as they were pursuing their careers, you already knew that they will be of help to this generation, oh God. We thank you. We thank you for the parents who nurtured them. We thank you for the support they gave from the society. We thank you, oh Lord, for the engagement they had with their tutors, that today they can be of help to the church and to the generation of God. And Lord, I want to pray a special blessings upon their lives. As they leave this church, Lord, may they be blessed. And their children, oh Lord, may prosper according to your word. Lord, that you will not forget them, oh God, for the work that they are doing in this ministry. We also thank you for our pastor, Stanley Muchoki, and Pastor Ben Oboge, Lord, for giving us this opportunity to use their pulpit to preach the gospel. As we dispatch now, Lord, we pray that you go with us. Bind us together with your love and keep us safe until we meet again. For this is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thank you.